Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there and your mom too, as we're going to talk about some fun stuff here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. That is Coop. I am Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, and give us those 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on this Mother's Day edition of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop got a lot of fun things to dive into, like recruiting. And is Oklahoma behind or are they right on time? We'll talk top 25s because everybody has a post-spring top 25, I guess, based upon rosters. We got a new quarterback. What does that actually mean? We'll close it out talking a lot of Thunder basketball at the end. Coop, happy Mother's Day. Happy Sunday. How are you doing?
Yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and hopefully you guys took care of them and got some good stuff. But yeah, it's we are plugging away just as well, and it's now the Thunder game is over. Now we can kind of get back to talking about people's list and engagement farming.
Hey, I'm just gonna be honest. I like to thank them for it because it's not like we got anything else to do, right? Like, what else are we gonna do besides, get, fight about lists that don't make any sense? But yeah, shout out, happy day to all the mamas, the baby's mamas, the mama's mamas, the baby's mama's mamas. All of them deserve to hear the love from all of us. We appreciate y'all riding with us consistently. It is the off season, so as Coop just mentioned, all we've got really on the list to react to. We may make our own list later. I don't know. I've been debating it. It just, it's not like there's much else going on in the world. But thank y'all once again. Thank y'all for even coming in here during Mother's Day. I mean, it's not like much. It's a great holiday. Like you say, hopefully y'all did something for moms. Grandmama, auntie, Nim, you took care of them because I typically do. But Coop, I want to start off. You know what? Let's start off with the most important thing. I love that Lemon says you're pro mom lover. He definitely loves on a mama. He is definitely about that.
Mother lover.
He is a mother lover, loving on the mother. Tell Mrs. Lemon, have a great Mother's Day as well. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to her.
Yes.
Let's talk about this first, though, Coop. The Oklahoma Sooners landed a quarterback. Let's talk about that first. I think that is a important conversation to have because I've seen some of y'all hop in the social medias and lose y'all mind in like literally the worst way they really needed to. Whit Neubauer, the Neubauer, is now a Sooner. So, Coop, I know you synced the film like I did. How'd you feel about the Neubauer on the roster?
Well, Cole Gonzalez came in to add another arm. We don't need to delve back into what does it look like when your starter goes down and you ain't got nobody behind him. But you needed somebody out there, and I think having another quarterback like Cole Gonzalez would have been good because if you wanted to play around with a red shirt for Hawkins or just having another arm out there that can save your guys during the scout season. But yeah, I mean, Cole Gonzalez is now going to Pitt and probably competing for the starting job. He has that option, and how much more attractive is it that he's coming off the Oklahoma bench? And so I think it's kind of the same thing for Mr. Whit here. So he can come in. I can't remember who I heard say it, but somebody said, I don't think that he has super high ambitions for making it to the league or anything, but you can come in, you can learn behind a really, really good quarterback in John Mateer. You can learn behind Ben Arbuckle, and things go your way. Next year, you can hit the transfer portal too if you're Whit, and maybe lobby yourself in for a starting job somewhere like Cole is heading off to do. He is young. It's not like he had kind of Baker Mayfield, freshman year at Texas Tech type of stats, but it gives you again another arm. maybe a good person to looking in the quarterback room, seeing things that Hawkins and Mateer maybe didn't see too. But it's good. It's good to have a couple different arms, and it's a guy who's got some playing time, and he can come in here and grow and get stronger. And if he wants to go the coaching route, who better to learn behind than Mr. Arbuckle? And if he wants to maybe leverage this to start somewhere else, you got that option too.
Yeah, I see. I said he's just a little bit different, and I say that as I agree. We didn't bring him in to be the starting quarterback. We've got John Mateer. We've got Michael Hawkins, who is developing into something pretty solid. But I watched Witt play in that game against Alabama. He was the starting quarterback when Mercer played them. He threw a touchdown on them, in which, he threw more touchdowns against Alabama than we did, just FYI. He looks kind of solid. And he's young. He was a true freshman last year.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 years of potential development with this kid who could show that he has a little bit better capabilities than expected, while at the same time, he has no fear of moving and running. Look at him. He's scrambling. He'll run and do stuff. But I'm not saying that he's going to be your starting quarterback. I'm more so saying that I do like the idea of having another quarterback. You said it perfectly. We don't need to have another situation where we ain't got no quarterback if 1 and 2 goes down. That's kind of what you look at when you pick up a player like Witt. You don't get him because you want him to be number 1 on your squad. You get him because you need another quarterback just in case. Yeah. And he gives you the just in case, which is what's way more important for us as a program, is having that just in case. But like I said, he's young. He comes in basically a year ahead of Jet New. Same class as Michael Hawkins. So he'll have an opportunity to fight for third and be a redshirt. So no, I'm not saying that he is like the savior of the squad or the game changer of anything. I'm more so telling you all that you just picked up a quarterback that is going to give you another arm in practice. He may actually give you some pretty good reps.
Yeah.
At quarterback, which is kind of big. You're going to need a guy to be competitive like that.
Well, you look at how Arbuckle does, call plays, is John Mateer is going to take every opportunity. If read 1, read 2 is locked up, he's got no issues with pulling the ball down and taking off. Yep. So does Hawkins. And so, again, you're a twisted ankle, you're a late hit out of bounds away from, just one of these guys, maybe having a concussion that they need to sit out a game, and you need to have a solid number 2 behind them. And as of right now, I don't know if Jet New is ready for that, but I'd rather have Jet New and Neubauer kind of pushing each other to become better behind those two.
Yep, me too. And so now, like I said, you got yourself a nice quarterback for in practice. You got a good arm. Practice arm. And like I said, I watched a lot of that Mercer game, went through the all 22. You can see some of the throws in the video I did right when he committed. And I liked it. I liked his throw mechanics. I think he can take a hit. He's going to give you just an additional component. So shout out to Oklahoma. You picked yourself up one that, we don't know what it is, but if anything, you've got your third, you got another arm for later. That's what's most important. Speaking of Witt and said arm, Coop, we got to talk about recruiting. Felt like today's a good day to do recruiting. There's not much else going on. Practices are done. Spring is done. Kids are out of school. Graduations happened this weekend. Congratulations to those that did graduate. I think OU dropped a picture of all the folks that did hit that graduation button. Let me pull that up for you all. And so, we are in the ain't much else going on time of the year.
Yeah. And, Mr. Lemon, does the WIT pool mean that the O'Neill class will stay a 1 QB the year? I think that going that far in advance, it's hard to say because I think we're still waiting for the settlement to drop down. That's going to have a big play in how you handle stuff. I would like to say that they'll probably still look at 2 arms, depending on what they feel like about that quarterback room. I think that as Witt comes in here, he'll get a chance to show out. But the last thing you want to do is have 0 irons in the fire just in case, you get a Jet New who decides to go back, go back west, maybe go back home to Utah. And, because, that's a very big opportunity. But I don't think that you can say much. Again, you want to handle the quarterback room correctly because you don't want people questioning whether Dylan Gabriel should have stayed for another year, this past year. That's going to happen one way or the other. But, I think that this gives them this class. They'll worry about that probably mid-season, late season, kind of seeing where everybody's at.
Yeah, the most important thing, like you said, we care about what's happening right now. Like, who do we have on the roster going forward? And which this is kind of what it feels like this administration is doing, this whole regime. The big shakeup with this regime feels like the focus is on as many quality players as possible on this roster. And that, to me, is going to be your telltale sign of the success of this team. You don't bring in somebody like Jim Nagy to walk in and pick up a whole bunch of 5 stars. I'm just going to keep that real. The reason is that every 5-star does not go pro.
Yeah.
Every 5-star is not who you think they are when they go to the collegiate level. We've all experienced this. What you hire a guy like Jim Nagy for is finding the players with specific NFL traits that his 29 years of experience can expose. You ain't looking for dudes just to come in. You're not looking for the easy left. There are some, but you're adding to that additional traits on top of what the recruiting services are. I get a lot of people are down on them. I don't believe that they're trash. I have to disagree with you there, Boomer129. I get you. I get where you're going with that. But it's not a game that you're going to bat 1,000 in. It's never going to be that easy to evaluate talent because there's little components in talent that you don't see, which similar to the NFL when dudes get drafted in the first round and don't make it. It's that work ethic. It's the ability to get around the 10th game of the season and things are tough. How do they adjust when teams are prepared for them? Type stuff. Coaching matters while at the same time the ability for players matter too. So you bring in Nagy specifically to find dudes that are fully overlooked. Now, the thing that intrigues me the most is how do they find guys at the high school level that will grow into specific body types by the time they leave 3 to 4 years out of college? That's what intrigued me the most about Nagy.
Yeah. You started off with this question of, where are we at with recruiting? Because it seems really slow. We're in the 50s, probably not making leaps and bounds currently yet. I think that we are getting close towards folks starting to make declarations. You're seeing more and more people's commitment dates. But we got to think about it this way. I mean, there's still official visit season. We're about to hit the OV season. That's about to happen. But I think that there has been a lot of conversations between the coaching staff and Jim Nagy's crew in finding translatable skill sets and measurables that are going to be things that put you in a better spot to go to the NFL. And it's again, you look at like one of the people who is getting a lot of questions on is Mason James, quarterback right from our wide receiver right from your backyard.
Yep.
And we've kind of came off of him a little bit here recently. And everybody's wondering, well, hold on a second. Well, what's going on? Well, I think that when you look at a guy like himself, he is a really, really good football player, right, at the high school level at this point. We haven't seen what he does in college, but when you do some projection stuff of seems like they're looking towards those guys like Elijah Thomas, at 6'1", close to, the upper 100s, getting up there towards 200. You want guys who are good route runners with great speed, and you don't want to see things where, maybe there's a spot to where he, is projecting at an upper 4.5 really with pads on, or maybe it's a guy who's a blazing guy, but he's a 5'9" guy. And you want to get more of the, because, yes, are there 5'9" receivers and 5'10" receivers that are blazing and have done great in the NFL? 100%. 100% yes. But it's more likely that those guys are going to be bigger-bodied guys, ball control, good body control. And so those are the things that these guys are looking for because I think you go out and in the next couple of years, if we have a couple lower recruiting classes, but the field shows that that talent is trading into the SEC, then some of those upper ranked guys are going to start going, well, hold on a second. If you're doing that with this, what can they do with me? And
Right.
That's when a 5-star, doesn't ask for the moon in NIL up front. And then you also have a couple other things going on, in the next couple weeks to where maybe that stuff gets a little bit more regulated. So I'm not saying that the NIL has everything to do with this, but if you want to get the most effective juice out of your squeeze, then Nagy's the guy who you hire to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And you have to make the determining, you have to answer your question to yourself is the juice worth the squeeze on some players. That's what's critical. And I like this point here. My boy John over there, Bama Nation. What's good, John? Thank you for pulling up in the X. There is so much recruiting still going on.
Yes.
We ain't at the end. Like, so a lot of people are trying to say that we're at the end of we're not. No. We're not. Official visit season's about to start. And a lot of people are leaning heavy in on June visits. Late July. Well, I don't know if late July, it'll be early August this time around, because if I'm correct, the 31st is considered a dead period date. But the 1st, you've still got a lot of that time.
A lot of time.
So we've got a bunch of time. But Oklahoma is not recruiting like they used to.
No.
There's a combination of, which this is the only thing I don't like about how we're doing it. And I'll be honest with you all, as I always am honest with you all when we talk about this stuff. But the one thing I don't like is that we're getting ourselves ahead of the settlement stuff.
Yeah.
We are preparing ourselves for when all of this ish changes and everybody's got to figure stuff out. Because by some of these teams getting a lot of their deals in early, they think they're going to be able to be buzzers, but that don't mean that. There's going to be some... The changes are going to make it a little bit tougher to do some of the stuff that they're doing going forward. And recruiting never ends. Thank you, Lemon. It never does. Never will. Nothing wrong with that, though.
Yep.
These kids taking advantage of the system that's put in place, and they're just getting paid based upon the market value that these schools are deciding that they want to pay. Now we're seeing, though, SMU is cooking. Toa Katoa that Coop had interviewed not too long ago has just committed to SMU. So one of the other targets that Oklahoma's going after, staying in state. Long term, we'll be fine. 100%. I just want to preface with a lot of people that you can't expect Oklahoma to bring in a guy like Nagy who has like 20 plus years of experience, almost 30 years of experience, and think that the only thing he's going to do is say, hey, let's just go after every single 5-star that exists, because no one ever feels that Robert Washington with only of those. You got to find all those players that, again, the thing that interests me the most is how's he going to figure out those NFL traits on bodies that aren't built NFL ready yet? Yeah. And how's he going to be able to distinguish those that have close to NFL bodies and have already hit their ceiling? That's where I'm the most intrigued. It's going to be very interesting to see how we go through that. But the portal, expect the portal to be a heavy mechanism for this team.
I think so. And again, I think you can trust in that. The spring portal really wasn't too flooded here this go round, and I expect that next year you're probably going to see a little bit more in the winter portal. But the interviews aren't looking too good here this year. I think we've lost 2 of the last 3 guys already with Aljor Miles and Toa. But SMU, there was a reason that they found themselves in the death penalty at one point, and it's because a lot of people had a lot of money and they were willing to give it for the football program, and there's a good amount of money being tossed around, and SMU's no short shakes with them, because they just went to the playoffs, and they had their name in that conversation. They went at the ACC and showed out. And so now you've got a little proof of concept to go with some dollars, and guys are going to start making that run. So, it is what it is. And that's one thing, is if you're going to go with Nagy half the way, you got to go all, because he's not going to he has a different value system, and I would liken it to how Bill Belichick used to organize and put the Patriots together. They always had some dude who played quarterback at Kennesaw Southern State University, and now he comes in and all of a sudden is a terrific slot receiver. Yeah, and so you've got things like that. You also have situations with, the Thunder. I think that they look at a lot of tradable stuff too, and make a lot of moves that no one saw coming. And so you got to kind of trust in Nagy in this situation. And if the portal's a little bit more of a clear pathway, you can go get guys who didn't want to sit behind 2 or 3 more years, and it's going to be like that throughout the entire college football, because guys don't want to wait if they feel like they can compete right now.
Yep. And looking at the way that Nagy looks at talent and what he's looking for, the key thing to me is it's going to be very intriguing how, and as they add more staff members, what that's going to look like with finding those players. Now, unfortunately for Oklahoma, I'll say this for like Bama with Courtney Morgan as their GM, and some of the others with their GMs. The minute they follow somebody, we know.
Yeah. And I will say this. I think this class this year is going to be something that's not going to push top 10. I think it's going to be a little bit of a lackluster class this year. So I want just everybody to expect that. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a big class. I think that we still have a lot of young talent. And so it's hard for someone to look at the defensive backfield and go, there's not a clear path there, and there is over here, and there is over here. And so that's you got to put some winning together. Winning is going to cure a lot of things. And though I don't think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for switching guys mid-season if we run off a really good season, but it's going to make some of these 27 kids all of a sudden start taking notice.
Yep. A lot of them are looking at that. They're, of course, most of these kids, no different than when they were actually being recruited before, even this era, portal and all of that. They're looking for paths to play. And kids transferred before all of this. It just got bigger when when it was more people that decided that, nah, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to go ahead and run. I mean, heck, you got to remember Oklahoma has had 3 straight transfer quarterbacks in a row. And then you had the recruit, and then you had more transfer quarterbacks. 2 out of the last 3 years, you had a transfer quarterback in. The game's the game. Right? Yeah, 2 out of 3. Maybe 3 out of 4. Good ones will stick around and grow because they recognize an opportunity. And then, of course, really good ones sometimes realize that heck, perfect examples, Beck.
Yeah.
Think about with him. Like, he should have stayed at Georgia, but I don't know if Georgia would have taken him back. I'm keeping it in a buck. It's a lot of both sides when it comes to this, and I emphasize that heavy. Like, so many people complain about the transfer portal. I'm like, I totally understand you complain about the transfer portal. I can understand in a way, and how you would like it abolished, but I want you to remember that means it can't be a opposite direction, which is basically the counterpoint. Schools put some of these kids out. They're like, it ain't gonna work. We're gonna go ahead and go with the younger guy. If you want to stay, we cool.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, you're not going to, as a high caliber player. Also, like, you got to understand that, like, if you are a guy like a Dylan Gabriel or a Carson Beck, and you've got a 5-star guy coming up behind you, and the coach staff says, "Hey, listen, this is part of the game. This is part of everything, and we are willing to have an open quarterback competition. We would like for Jackson to start. We would like for new quarterback to start and go a different direction." And if you want to stick around, you can do that. And then someone's going to come and say, "Well, I got like $1.5 million if you come over here, and we don't have anybody to compete with you." I mean, you're going to bounce. And we'll see if guys like Quinn Ewers could have probably transferred somewhere and made himself more money than he's going to make this year. Just coming up this next year. And I would have liked to. It would have been so good to see him and go somewhere and have to play Texas. That'd have been terrific. But nonetheless, he'll be down in Miami doing his thing down there.
Yeah, he will be. He's going to have some fun down there in Miami. And we'll see if he lives up to who he was. But thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5. So we got to talk some of these. Real quick, this was all populated. Everybody's kind of, pointing out that Oklahoma has the road to OKC has been selected. The Sooner ladies on the softball field have been given a 2 seed.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. You have a better record than A&M. You won the conference that A&M plays in. And, I think a lot of people were excited because I think some words came out that if a rain out happened, then OU was going to be awarded the trophy, and then it was a co-branded deal, a co-trophy, co-tournament champions. And so, again, I fully think that Patty is going to turn this into some kind of an opportunity. All right, they said we're not the same. They said that it ain't us anymore. Let's go out and do this. But I mean, if you take a look at A&M and Oklahoma, I mean, that's those guys are right there together. And this is the first time in 4 years that we've gone into the tournament, and you're like, okay, this is not going to just be a walkthrough. This is going to be an actual tournament for this team. And you got great players playing, but look how cool this is. SEC 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not. I mean, it's going to be a fun tournament. It's going to be an absolutely fun tournament.
And then 6, 7, and 8, which is crazy.
All but one team. All but one team in the SEC.
All but one team.
And we won the conference.
We won the conference. Goodness gracious, Oklahoma. They're going to cook. And that hopefully the guys will probably get around 17 unless they can upset Texas in their series in baseball to get
Texas's pitching is is kind of hit a little bit of a wall. The pitching has not been super terrific here the past couple weeks, and that's from talking to some Texas guys. And so with Diamond Sports, I mean, both teams are going to be doing it. For the guys, you absolutely need more than one player to ball out. You need more than one pitcher. That is, hopefully get Taki back at some point. But I think it's going to come down to what does OU get pitching wise from Sam for the girls, and who is going to be, is it going to be Lowry? Is it going to be Kristen Deal? Who's going to be the number 2 person? And can you really go into a game? Because I don't think Sam Landry is going to be able to throw every single dang game. And even when she does throw, she's going to have to be, on her game. But it's going to come down to pitching on both the Diamond Sports. Can you get your 2 and 3 guys on baseball, and can you get your number 2 on softball really going? And then timely hitting with softball and baseball. I know that the hitting's been up and down on both sides. So, but both of them have shots. Both of them are built to make some noise in these tournaments.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for us to play in this the regional. As you can see, I put the regionals up. We'll host Cows at Omaha and. What is that? That Boston?
Butler? Bulldogs? Is it Butler?
No, it's not Butler. Butler's blue. That may be. I think that's Boston. But let me get out of here.
Yeah, they're not playing any games in Georgia. I think it's they're in.
Yeah, it's Boston. Boston Terriers.
Boston. Oh, there you go.
That's fascinating.
Didn't know that they had a softball team or a college.
You learn a lot.
Yeah,
you learn a lot. So yeah,
the 2 seed is disrespectful. I'm not a massive like into this. Just especially at this point in the season. But there's nothing OU did to not say, hey, until someone knocks us off, why not put us there? Because, if this was South Carolina as the 2 seed and Duke as the 1 seed, opportunity and, college basketball, they're going to put, similar records. They're going to put Duke there because of the name. And, but again, OU can't win on the road. They gotta play tournaments in their home state. So they just, they went that route. And then it's OU's done. They're done for. There's no chance to be able to compete in the SEC. Well, that's over. So there's the haters are going to come out. Nobody likes this team we are the villains, and that's the one thing that this team's going to have to take that mantle of is you're no longer the up and comers. Now you're the villains. It's the old Batman adage. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think that's what this softball team has kind of ran into now, especially with their just unbridled passion.
Yeah. Unbridled passion. I like that.
It is.
So now they've got bulletin board material. They better use that stuff.
Oh, listen.
That's all I got to say.
I think that them getting the 2 seed is just the epitome of the Oklahoma softball season this year. Is what is you went? What was the record? 7 losses. Was it 7 losses? Yeah, 7 losses, right? And there's a lot of people wondering if OU softball is seeing its end. And you just were the best team in the best conference and won the conference and, had to share the championship. So it is this team's going to use it. And, if I'm Patty Gasso, I'm telling them, all right, you guys are part of a legacy, but now it's time to write our own story. And you can go out and you can do that. You're playing in front of your home crowd. You're going to have the crowds there. It's going to be legit. And, you got to take it one game at a time, and they got to show the resiliency that they showed. Yeah, I mean, you can't win tomorrow. You got to play today. But yeah, I mean, they showed the resiliency, being down 6-1, coming back and winning that game against Arkansas. This team has got the juice for it. Yes, not everybody's batting 400, but everybody is definitely capable of doing something big at the plate.
See, Coop, the resident baseball expert. Everybody can bet 400. So, yeah, I like that. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review. Give us those 5s. Got another quarterback. recruiting, we talked about the Nagy effect and all those changes. We'll start roster breakdowns probably beginning of June. We've got a lot of things to truly talk about. Players that we feel like will jump out. Me and John also talking about it over there on Locked On. As soon as you can check that out here on the tubes. But me and Coop going to talk about these top 25s though. Who do you want first? Do you want JD
before we hop into that?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want. I want nothing to do with the receiver prediction because last year we did the receiver film and I think we finished at 4, and then we got the message about Jaden Gibson at like 4:45.
Fair.
I'll just sit out that one. But no, let's do Pikel. I feel like
does he deserve
Pikel
it?
is a guy who, again, right now it's engagement farming. When college football dies down, it for a lot of people it's 24/7, but it's still not at the NFL's level because a lot of people don't really care about recruiting. They'll read the program game one, and or at the end of fall practice. But this is engagement farming for everybody. They need us to be pissed off because OU has the 211th best quarterback in the country or something like that, or OU is either rated too high or too low. You know that you get a double if you do anything high for Texas because you're going to get 5 or 6 fan bases that are going to chirp in there. So it's hey, this list means how much for game 1 for us?
Nothing.
Okay, nothing. Okay, just making sure that you had the same figures that I had. So it means nothing. But so if you want to, we'll do our group therapy here on Sunday nights to talk about these jokers. But I'd say don't give them what they're asking for. Engage.
Exactly. So
don't press in.
We're gonna start with right. Don't press in. Actually, the one thing I like Herm Edwards said, I actually used to have that pinned on my personal X account all the time was just don't press in. I've done a really good job. Let me rephrase that. I used to do a really good job of that, and now I need to get back to it. But Don't Press Send has been a strong one on the Unfair Sports channel. So we'll start with JD Pikel. We'll transition into Joel Klatt. And then I'm going to let y'all lose y'all's mind on Andy Staples. Pikel. I'm sorry, that's Staples. Y'all get Pikel first. Pikel is Oklahoma sitting at 19th, which is pretty darn consistent for us since, BV took over. Feels like 19 is the spot. 19, 20-ish. Michigan right behind us, which is interesting. Ole Miss, Tennessee right above us. Still like A&M, South Carolina at 9 feels like a choice. Doesn't feel like there's much logic there. Alabama at 11, interesting. LSU, Georgia. But I'm going to go ahead and give y'all my gripe. I have one complaint about every single one of these. Coop, and it's very simple. The defending champion should be number 1. I don't care. I don't care what changes. I don't care. The defending champion on all post-season polls or top 25s or power rankings and all, the number 1 team should be the defending champions. And I don't care how much talent they lose. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be replenished up and ready to go. Doesn't mean the people that's right behind them aren't ready to go. The number 1 team should always be the defending champions. But Coop, I'll let you start. What you think?
I disagree with you. Wow. It may sound like I'm doubling back on what I just said about the softball team, but that's at the end of the season, and their proof of concept shows that they're still the best team. But with this one, I think Ohio State does lose a ton, and last year means nothing for this year. Look at Florida State this past year. They should have played for a national championship, and if not for them, we would have had even more angst towards us than Florida State. But listen, would Pikel vote this way on August 23rd? I can't say yes. But let's just be honest. I mean, you look at the beginning, and the top 5 makes sense until number 5, I think. But, Texas, there's a lot of hype around the quarterback. Ohio State just won the national championship, so they got to keep them right there, right? Penn State, Drew Aller, a lot of excitement around him. Cade Klubnik, a lot of excitement around him. But then the quarterback stuff kind of disappears until South Carolina and LSU, because everybody else, I guess Sam Leavitt with the Arizona State. But there's just not much rhyme or reason on this. I mean, Texas is losing, what was it, 60% of their production from last year. Offensive line, you don't bring back offensive or defensive line, just in totality. Ohio State lost the damn kitchen, lost the farm, lost the guest bedroom. They lost everything. So again, this is up for grabs, up for conversation now. There's excitement going around. Nebraska. Why not throw them in? Auburn, did they find their quarterback? I guess nobody puts 2 and 2 together there. South Carolina, yet again, what have we done to show that we should be there? So in Tennessee, you lost your quarterback and you replace him with, a potential lesser guy. Why do you have them right there? Ole Miss, who are they going to throw out there as quarterback? And then on top of that, you lost your best defensive player in Walter Nolan. So there's so many questions right there. So what does this mean? Does it say there's a bunch of questions for each team, and I feel like in the portal they addressed them, so I feel like those questions are answered? Yeah, if you want to look at it that way, sure, go for it. Does that mean anything for game time on August 28th, 29th, when the season opens? No, It means nothing. So, but I will say this is, I mean, if you're just going to say in general, like, stay the champ until you're knocked off, I think so. But I think when you when you lose the farm, that's hard. But so did Texas, and they're right there. So you're
every time, and that's my point. If you're gonna do that, it should be the defending champions. It's not like their roster. They lost a lot of starters, like Michigan did last year. Going into last season after they won the Natty, totally get that. But Ohio State always loses a lot of players. That is like a factory of one of the many factories in college football that just sends dudes to the league. But it's wild. But that's why I disagree on that part. Is there ain't a single reason why Ohio State should be number 2. Like, there's no logical reason you can argue. I think the Texas argument's going to be 100% Arch Manning. Why are we doing this? Why are we saying that only Arch Manning is the reason why they should be number 1? Because the funny thing is when they play each other, we will have an answer week 1 of the season.
Yeah.
And I expect that Ohio State defense to still be stout.
I think so too.
So
Downs is still there.
Exactly. They still got a lot of dudes on that defense. And their question is similar to Texas, is what is the offense going to look like? Because Texas returns a lot of the key players that they need. They've got one dude at every single position except for interior defensive line coming back. I mean, from Colin Simmons to Anthony Hill to Malik Muhammad to Michael Taffy. So you've got one at each level, except for interior. Ohio State, like you said, they got Caleb Downs. And to be absolutely honest, about all you need in that secondary. That dude just goes everywhere. And they live in the edge. They've always got edge players. They've always got interior guys. They don't have to live in the portal for those dudes. The question is going to be who's throwing the ball on both sides of the ball and if they're going to be able to compete. But off of those two, Clemson at number 4 is interesting to me because I 100% think Clemson should be 3rd. Now, Penn State has a great argument. They got both their running backs back and their starting quarterback in Drew Aller. But we've already seen the story of Drew Aller and the way that he plays. It's not really all that great.
And you can even take out Drew Aller's name and just put Penn State QB.
Yeah, touche.
What happens with these guys? They have super productive freshman years that kind of, eclipse expectations. They throw for 3,000 yards, something that Arch Manning has never done in his entire life, by the way, throw for 3,000 yards.
Very fair. Very fair.
Not 4,000, not 3,000. But whoever it ends up being at Penn State, it's the same thing. Productive freshman year, a couple turnover issues, but just a grinder. Couldn't beat any of the big teams, but with confidence and experience, he's going to get better. And then year 2, balls out, still can't really pull off the big game. And then year 3 or 4, whatever it is, here comes the big Penn State, and it never happens. And this is why Sam Franklin ends up on the hot seat every 3 to 4 years, is because his senior quarterback did not do it. So he's going to be in the hot seat going into next year. And there's going to be a new freshman kid who comes in. He's going to look really, really good. He's going to be more of a runner, passing on necessity. They're going to overachieve. They're not going to be playing big games. Rinse, wash, repeat. Jay, you can name the year.
I love that you called him Sam Franklin and not James Franklin. That actually kind of warms my heart about who he is to all of us, because it really is that situation. Because you're not wrong there. That's kind of the feeling that we all have in regards to a James Franklin type setup, is that we expect him to fumble the bag. That's what he does best.
I mean, I kind of made the joke already, but I'll say it louder for the back. If it's Aretha Franklin, it doesn't mean a damn thing. If they followed the same pattern over and over again, it's going to be okay for. And I don't know what it is. It's you look at Mike Tomlin in the NFL. It's just that state. Is as long as you are a hard-working yeoman's, just grind it out and just never show quit. It does not matter if we don't ever win a national championship. We're going to be happy with this team because we're hard workers and we always have a chance. And that just kind of feels the same about Penn State.
No, you are pretty you're pretty spot on there, my friend. That is how I've always felt about them. Oregon at 5 is intriguing. Georgia should be higher as the defending SEC champion. I feel like there should be more respect on their name. Same thing with LSU bringing back their quarterback. Now, the question I'm curious about is, out of his top 10, who do you think are the 2 teams that will fall out of it and out of the top 25?
Out of the top 25. Oh,
yeah, because 2 teams
list.
Always do.
Okay. I don't really think anybody out of the top 25, but I think teams that end up towards the back of the top 25 by the end of the year, I would go with South Carolina. And man, I'm just not buying Oregon this year. Just not buying Oregon. I think that they're going to be starting the is it the Moore kid? What's his name? Freshman. Was he part of Jackson Arnold's class? Dante Moore, isn't he there?
Oh, the quarterback at Oregon? Yeah, I think Dante Moore is going to be their starting quarterback. Let me see.
Yeah, so going to be a first-time starting quarterback. Dylan Gabriel really saved them a lot with his efficiency and just letting those just crazy playmakers that Oregon has, in the slot, and they line them up in the backfield. That's what you want from your Oregon quarterback. You don't need somebody to go out there and be a Joey Harrington, and toss the ball all over the place. It is get the ball in the space. That's when Oregon's always been the best, is spread you out, get the ball in space, make play after play after play. And as you start scratching out to those wide receivers, then all of a sudden they got one of those speedy little SOBs that come out of the backfield and averages 10 yards a carry every single damn year.
They always do. It's always one of those you like, who is this
and his name's
dude?
His name's always going to be Franklin. I feel like they've got a 5'9" Franklin that runs a 4.1 every single year.
Let me look. I'm looking at their roster now. Okay, he may not be up there right now, but I think they're going to end up one showing up out of nowhere. Yeah, there's not one now, but I think one's going to random populate. It's probably a true freshman right now. It's going to just come on the roster, and he's going to become that, like you said, the Franklin. They do have
DeCorian Moore, and I think he is going to be a psycho. Again, it's Oregon's season. Do you have their schedule up right in front of you? Oregon's season is going to come down to Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. I really don't see Indiana having the year that they had last year, which is why they're not even up here. I don't see it.
Nope.
I think a lot of people are saying Illinois is the new Indiana.
They are. They're bringing back a lot of players, so I totally understand why they're at 14 because I think they're bringing back the most returning starters, which I think that's also why we're 19. We're bringing back some of the most returning production in the country. We're still 10th in the country in that, which I can't wait till Bill Connolly gives us that. It's gonna be fun to dive into those numbers. But if I'm gonna pick two teams out of here, I really think that it's gonna be South Carolina. I think they're going to disappoint this year. And I'm probably going with Texas A&M as well. They're returning a lot of talent, but their biggest problem is going to be for both of those teams. We still need to see if the quarterbacks can win games for them. And I don't know.
And they've got that Michael Vick, light style quarterback, the guy who is big time scrambler. And it's just, can he throw the ball effectively and in crunch situations? Now, right. The only reason why I don't have Elko, is A&M there is because of Elko. I am a big believer in Mike Elko. I really do think that he but, Jay, I'm also of the opinion that LSU either won't be in the top 25 or they're going to win the national championship this year because that's typically how they do in these years is they either just go absolutely off and, they do it. You saw it with Joe Burrow's second year. It just happens all the time for them. And I think this is the year that they got it. But a lot of it's going to be how much can their defensive line progress? In the second year they have, they got a decent haul, kind of like we did, the year before. And so Notre Dame, I'm just not sure. I think Riley Leonard was a lot of that team. He did such a good job. And who did they get transfer in? Because they got a transfer quarterback, right?
Notre Dame did pick up a transfer. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to go look real quick. I'm just pulling up their roster in Notre Dame. They got in...
No, Jimmy. Derek Carr's retiring from football. He's not going to go play there.
CJ Carr is their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I have no clue who that is.
I know he's a transfer,
zero clue who that is, sir. Like, I have no clue who that is.
No. And Notre Dame is Notre Dame, and I think their schedule is going to be kind of like it always is. It's going to be, what does SC look like? What are these teams that they're playing? What do those guys look like?
And in a shocking development, they did not bring in a quarterback in the portal this year. So they're actually going to ride with their guy, CJ Carr.
Okay. Well, tune in for more inaccurate news.
It's all right. All right, let's look at the next one. Let's go with Clat. Clat's top 25. Oklahoma sitting here at the bottom at number 25. And of course, Clat explains it in his video as to why. But Florida at 13 seems high. Clemson at 5 seems low. But Penn State's his favorite team. Why?
Listen, I'm going to come back to Notre Dame because now I just pulled up their schedule, but I've already given my thoughts on the Penn State stuff. Like, of all the teams that shown that they can push through, like, hell, even Michigan pushed through recently. Like, why? Like, how do you? Again, it's been set up like this. It's fool me once, that fool me once, fool me twice situation. But we've seen it like 5 times. Yep. But again, everybody's got Texas right there too. Notre Dame, Jay. This is how their season starts off. If Notre Dame has a good record, they can name their spot in the rankings.
That's
so you
true.
Start out at Miami, A&M at home, Purdue at home, at Arkansas, Boise State at home. NC State at home, USC at home, at Boston College, Navy at home, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Stanford. So, if they get through September, if they get through October, and they've got, that's a tough damn schedule. Their schedule, there's not many. Your weeks off are Syracuse and NC State, Stanford at the end of the season. But Notre Dame's not going to be there. Notre Dame, this may be the year that they're not in the top 25.
Ooh, this could be that year. Now the question is with Carr, he's a Elite 11 finalist. He did finish. He's a top 100 player in the nation. 6th quarterback in his class. So in 2024, he wasn't bad.
I agree. And I don't think his talent's going to be where he falls short. I think it's the experience and the way to manage the game. I mean, you look at what Riley Leonard did last year. The difference between Riley Leonard and Sam Hartman was just the ability, number one, to stay healthy, but number two, to avoid the big catastrophic mistakes and just take the things that are presented to you, not leaving anything on the table. It's hard to ask a freshman to do that.
Now, this is kind of funny. Went back and looked at that recruiting class. Only 3 quarterbacks in that. Well, no, I say 4. 4 out of the top 10 quarterbacks are still on their roster on the team that they committed to. 247. You had Julian Sand, who's no longer at Alabama. He's at Ohio State. DJ Lagway still stays. So I guess 5. DJ Lagway, Raiola. Aaron Nolan is no longer at Ohio State. He's at South Carolina. Luke Kromenhoff is not at Florida State. He is at Mississippi State. CJ Carr. Ethan Grunkenmeyer, which is Penn State's backup quarterback. And then Jaden Davis at Michigan. And then, of course, number 6. I'm sorry, there's 6 of them. Ryan Puglisi, who is the quarterback at Georgia. So 6 out of the top 10 are still on their roster, but only 3 of the top 5, 3 of the top 6 are still at their original schools. Fascinating. I
mean, there's a lot, and it's going to continue to be this way because, I think the way that those guys are getting paid, they want to come in, they want to play, they want to go now.
I won't kick now.
But somebody brought up in the chat, I think Penn State probably is getting a lot of bump from the Jim Knowles situation.
Fair.
But did Penn State lose games because their defense? Because I've thought the game that they lost, those close games, their defense is kind of what kept them there. I think, as usual, it's not usually the Penn State's defense that is the issue. It's usually the inability to do the thing in one of those phone booth games, and for the quarterback to make plays in the end. And they usually, I feel like there's a Penn State receiver that gets drafted every 2 or 3 years too. So it's like they've got the good weapons, good running backs, got a good defense, and it's just that quarterback, when it matters most. And I guess you can say that with every team, but Penn State, I'm just going to have to see it before I believe it, Jay.
Yeah, me too. I am in the believe it when I see it. Now, Oklahoma at 25. How you feel about that?
I feel like Joel Klatt probably thought, I bet he had Oklahoma and a couple other teams at 25, and he thought, man, the backlash I'll get from Oklahoma fans by not having them will be 1,000 times worse than anything I can get from any other team at this spot. 19, 25, 20, it doesn't matter. You want these guys hungry. You want these guys believing that nobody is believing in them. And then, what you want to do is not what happened 2 years ago. You want to see them once they get on the rolling, they get and win a big game, after Texas. We throw the game-winning touchdown against Texas, and then what happened? We kind of lost focus, and it was a big thing. So that's what this team's going to need to do this year is if you get on that winning streak, it is how do you continue to grind and tune all the rat poison out, and how do you just continue to grind and keep things going? And so I'm fine with Oklahoma at 25. I know that people will always do the remember 2000 we started at number 19 or we started at whatever that was. That's kind of the parallel that we always draw if we are ranked early in the season right here. But it's going to be Oklahoma is going to be. I think the schedule is easier than it's being dubbed as. I really do. I think with the new starting quarterbacks and new situations, up and down the entire schedule, your defense. If you're good at defensive back and if your offensive line is good, this team is a top 15 team.
No, that's very, very fair and true there. I like the 25 spot. I actually prefer that we still have a lot of questions that need to be answered. Is our offensive line going to be at where we need it to be? which I'm not concerned about, but some are. Will our wide receivers be healthy enough to really compete? Will John Mateer be able to walk in and continue to do what he does? Which I've heard a few people talk about this, and the one thing that everyone is excited most about John Mateer is that John Mateer walks in with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, and he knows the offense. He can teach it. I think that was probably the biggest game changer of Dylan Gabriel coming in with Jeff Lebby, was he could teach the offense to guys very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, the problem that year was everybody was learning both sides of the ball. That's not a very good recipe for success. But the second year in it, you notice that it all changed.
Yeah.
So now you'll have a situation where the quarterback is teaching everybody, but everybody on defense knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing because all of them have been there. The O-line, to me, will be just fine. I'm already sold on the fact that now we have 2 layers of offensive linemen that should be okay with playing. You saw the product later in the season, how it started to get better. The thing that held most of it back was still the one component of being able to throw the ball. We'll be better at both going into the season.
And Jay, I think the puzzle pieces are better. I think that you want to be a spot where you're giving Fasusi and Foje some good looks throughout the season and maybe rotating them in. I don't think you want to be in a spot where you have to turn to them out of necessity. I think if they take something, have at it. We saw Caden Green a couple years ago. A true freshman can come in and make a difference. And I feel like that is what I believe in this year. I also think there were so many times I don't even want to spend too much time on this. The offensive line held up way more often than it looked. Now, people want to go back to the South Carolina game, and they want to go back to the second half of the Ole Miss game, and that's what the whole entire season boiled down to. I promise you, John Mateer is going to, alleviate some of those issues also.
That is what's most important.
He knows where people are supposed to be. If the receivers do what they're supposed to do, he's going to find them. Whereas last year, you didn't know. I mean, when you turned around as a receiver, you had a very low chance that the ball was actually going to be coming out of the quarterback's hands or coming to you in your general vicinity. And so I think that all changes a little bit more this year with Mateer. And for everybody wondering if Mateer can translate, Cam Ward did okay.
He did all right. He
didn't transfer to the SEC, but he did.
He
still did really okay.
We're not gonna give. No, he don't deserve that kind of.
Where did he get drafted, Jay?
I don't know. Did he even get drafted? Coop? Are we even talking about this right?
I mean, you got to think the step up of Arbuckle. You go Cam Ward, not drafted at all, right? And now Mateer, maybe he can slide into the 7th round. 3-4 quarterbacks later, we might have ourselves a high round draft pick. So somebody's going to watch that part of the clip and is going to lay into us.
Lay into us. All right, lastly, the one that everybody wants to know about.
Pull up the dumb one.
Here's your best one. Andy Staples. And I like Andy Staples a lot. This is funny. He ain't there. No. Zias B. I'm not a Ward hater. I love Cam Ward. I'm just saying. I mean, did he really get drafted though? Did he really get drafted though? Yeah, we're kidding around. We're truly kidding. I love Cam Ward. I think he's
first draft.
Yeah, he was the best quarterback in the draft. I love Cam Ward.
I listen. I don't give a shit what happens to that team at all. But I will be rooting for Cam Ward. I want
Cam Ward to succeed while his team loses.
Sure, why not?
I don't want him to be the cause of their losses, but I want the Titans to lose every game possible.
Well, the Titans are going to be Titans, right? They're going to be a nice little 8-8 style team, 9-7 or whatever it is, however many games there are now, 9-9, 10-9, whatever. But that's
9-8, 8-9, something like that.
Yeah,
but
so they're going to be like that, right? And I think that he's going to ball out better than Anthony Richardson did this past year. I think he is going to have himself a good year. Let's just be honest, though. Cam Ward did go number 1. But this might have been one of the worst quarterback draft classes in a long time.
We've had in a bit.
Yeah. And I don't think that has anything to do with Cam Ward, but I still think he's a top 15 pick in any other year. But the Titans are a team that he can go and he can put his head down, and if he's going to do what he says he does, he's going to put his head down and he's going to grind and he's going to earn the respect of that locker room and he's going to try to start leading them.
Exactly. And so Andy Staples, as mentioned here, I think this is a similar situation as you stated for Joe Klatt. The numbers, he's right there at 25. He decided that Iowa will be selected over Oklahoma, which is number 26. And Andy Staples doesn't care about the backlash from Oklahoma fans. He actually embraces it. He's like, pull up.
He said, bring the traffic, bring the engagement.
Bring the pain. Bring me all of hate and anguish. He has zero issues with doing that. And I've always, like I said, I like Andy Staples. I respect him in the game. But I do think it's funny that he hit Oklahoma over the head with the, I'm going to go ahead and throw y'all in there last type deal.
Well, you got a Louisville, an Iowa, and an Iowa State right there. Like that's where you go, I mean, come on, what's going on here? But again, and Texas Tech, there's a lot of Texas Tech love. Again, kind of like the Penn State. You're going to have to show me because Texas Tech, I will take Texas, Notre Dame. I'll take every single those teams in a head-to-head matchup, and I just don't think Texas Tech has the juice, the athletes, and we now have seen it 1 year in full schedule up and down.
Still gonna say it.
We got Texas Tech in the playoff, Jay. I would be excited about that matchup.
I'm with you on that, but I'm gonna say number one needs to be Ohio State. They won the ring. Georgia won the SEC championship. They should be number one. Their defense is bringing back a lot, but anyway. I do like that Clemson is number 3. I respect it. Illinois is getting a lot of love. I hope they live up to it. I do think that South Carolina is fair. Now, out of this top 10, who do you think are the 2 teams that's going to fall out?
Illinois and Florida. I mean, do you count that? Like, here's the thing: is I think Bielema is a great coach. I really do. I just don't think that he has a coaching philosophy that allows for this type of. If this was the '90s, he's it. I mean, he reminds me of the old. Oh God, what's his name? He was the head coach of A&M with Jamal Toombs, the beginning of the Big 12. Oh my God, what is his freaking name? Somebody help me out here. Not Mike Sherman. Before that, R.C. Slocum.
R.C. Slocum. Yeah.
So
I get you.
That's he's a grinder. He's got that Wisconsin power football. Dennis Francione, him too. Just that whole Texas A&M era, to where it was big time defense, adequate quarterback, and a good running game. And I just don't know if it can win championships in this day and age.
Really?
Also, let me see here. I think you have to have some dynamic offensive output. You either have to have yourself some freaks of nature, some mutants at the wide receiver spot, or you just have to have, a Diego Pavia type of quarterback on a really, really good team.
That's kind of where I'm at. Is you got to have a Diego Pavia type that's going to be able to just take over and do everything themselves. Alabama at number 7 is very intriguing to me because, Klatt had Alabama at number 9, and Piquel had them at 11, but Staples has them in the top 10, above Georgia. Are we doing they beat them type deal?
Let's be honest. Has there ever been a game, that Alabama-Georgia game, to where you're like, you could look at it and be like, they're lucky that the time ran out when it did? I really just think that. One last thing on Illinois. Their schedule looks very manageable. You got Western Illinois, Duke, Western Michigan, Indiana, USC, Purdue. Here's the stretch: Ohio State, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern. They don't have a very tough schedule. I mean, it's USC, Indiana. You throw them in there, about the same thing as Washington. I think one could be pretty surprising this year, but that might be it for Illinois. So, but Jay, the Alabama, I don't know what to expect. I think Alabama did what I thought they were going to do this year. I thought that the melding of styles was going to become an issue at some point, and we saw it did.
Yeah.
you also see that those crunch time plays that Nick Saban never let beat him, you saw them lose because of that a couple times. Now, DeBoer's got his own guy. He's got more of a passing attack. Brian Williams is pretty decent at what he does. What do they? Yeah, what do they? What do they have coming back at running back? Can they? Their offensive line. They lost some big time offensive linemen. A couple of big guys. So I'm wondering. You still have. I think their left tackle. I think is projected to be one of the top 5 picks. You're still going to have that.
Proctor,
but, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, so he's a big generational guy, the next big LT to hit. But I don't know what to expect out of Alabama. Does DeBoer try his methodology, and now this is his team? And you got they didn't lose much at all out of the portal, which is crazy. They kept a lot of that talent there in Alabama. So we'll see if they struggle this year. It could be a little bit of a free fall with him, and it might be year 3. But if he's able to run what he wants to run and get out there and do some of the stuff that he wants to do, which is more of that passing attack, Alabama gets to look a little bit different, kind of like the early Mike Leach Sooners. With when he came in, and you go from whatever we ran on offense prior to Stoops, and then all of a sudden you're throwing the spread in there. I think Alabama looks a little bit more like they looked with Tua and all the first-round draft pick guys.
That I do agree with you on, because Grubb is really going to bring back a lot of what we saw at Washington. I agree with you there. That is what I expect. A lot more Washington in comparison. So, yeah, I could see Bama actually being a lot better offensively in comparison to last season.
It's going to be a first-year starter in his first year in the SEC, and it's going to be it's going to be different. And
because he didn't look all that great when he played against us. I'm just going to say. When they had to bring him in because I think Milroe, either his helmet got knocked off or he got a little dinged up for a minute. They took him out for like a couple of plays, and then Simpson came in there and played. He's got. It's going to be a little different.
And like I said, first-year quarterback, DeBoer gets to run his system. Do we get to see what does DeBoer's system look like in the SEC? I mean, just the same questions that are going to be asked about Arbuckle should be about DeBoer, because he did not run his system last year.
He did not.
And if you think that Michael Penix Jr. and Jalen Milroe had a lot of parallel film from their past years, that's not true. So we'll see. And again, at Washington, he had a lot of really, really good receivers, with Penix that last year when they made a push. You got Ryan Williams, who steps up with him, who takes some pressure off of Ryan Williams.
That is the biggest question. Who's going to be that player that's going to take most of the pressure off of the back of a Ryan Williams and allow Ryan Williams to be able to really freestyle as much as he wants to?
Yeah.
But truth be told, we shall see.
It's list season. It's list
season, baby. So much fun.
What if? What's going to happen? Yeah, but so there's a lot. We still got a long time, and as we saw last year, a lot can happen between here and kickoff.
A ton's going to happen. That's the crazy part. A ton's going to happen between here and kickoff. But all right, let's wrap it up with a bow on. Let's talk a little basketball. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. For those of you that are not NBA fans, feel free to tune out. If it's not your team, feel free to bounce out. You've already hit the commercial break, so it doesn't matter. But best thing out there at Thunder. Thunder get us that dub. Close it out. And Coop, I'm going to say this in the simplest of terms. I feel like Oklahoma City needed that desperately. And when I say they needed it desperately, they needed to see what it's like to... They need to see what it's like to aim really, really close and in the clutch. Because, I mean, look at it. The first game and the third game, if they were locked in clutch-wise like this and not just gunning nonstop, they could have won the game. This could have been a sweep. Or 3-1.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot that I think that when you watch, we saw the Steve Nash Phoenix Suns do the same thing. We saw the Dallas Mavericks for years. These potent offenses that I mean, the Brooklyn Nets, same situation. You go in and you run the regular season, and then when you come to the playoffs, all those plans, it's the Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yep.
Oklahoma City, if you let's consider it for the sake of my argument here, double-digit wins as blowout wins. In non-double-digit wins, Oklahoma City was 14-14 on the season because they had 54 wins by 10 points or more. So they're 14-14 in games where they didn't blow out the team, right? I think half of those were the damn Mavericks. But I digress. Is game one, you don't hit free throws. Caruso did not once, not twice, but 3 times fouled immediately. And it looked like the team didn't know what to do in a close game. They didn't know how to operate. How many times, Shea led the league in scoring and didn't play a ton in the fourth quarter this year. And i.e., these blowouts. Today was a must-win because it was a close game. It was an ugly game. I mean, I think the teams were combining to shoot under 20% from three-point range at one point.
Stinky.
Shea was efficient as he could be. They are really, really making this team think through what they're wanting to do instead of just get out and run. No, they do not want the Thunder to get out and run, because what happens when the Thunder do that? If you can get out and run, you see what happened in game 2. Yep. They also had Jokic out of his dadgum mind in game 2. And game 3, Jay, I'm not gonna lie. Game 3 was just the same thing as game 1 again. It was you not being able to do the right thing, and they still had a chance to win that game with everybody just playing super efficiently from the starting rotation. Aaron Gordon, it was crazy. Michael Porter Jr. was the only game I think so far in the playoffs that he actually looked well in was game 3. So today, it was big. Number one, you got to you got to even things back up. Now it's a best-of-3 series, and you get after it.
That's what's most important. You're right.
And like we said, it's keeping the series out of that 3-1 deficit, which is not impossible to come back from, but it's not something that you want to willingly take on. I think that right now I'm kind of maintaining still, can you go out and beat the Thunder at home 2 times if you're the Nuggets, or I guess just 1-1. But I mean, you got to get there. You got to get you got to come back home, and you got to put yourself back up on the high side and put all the pressure on the Nuggets to throw out everything. I got to think that the fatigue is going to start playing a little bit more of a part for this Nugget team outside of Jokic, because he's like the Oogie Boogie Man or something like that. Like he doesn't have energy. It's just his energy level is 100% all the time.
Yeah, he's at that point where we have to ask the question: is he going to be able to? Is he? Are they gassed enough for OKC to just close them out? And I think that they're at that point where they're pretty gassed. They looked at. Now, the other thing, though, the one thing I will give to them is that when they look gassed, they ask to still be hitting shots. Like, how? Like, it annoys me.
I will say this is they're throughout 20 plus years of being very, very big NBA guy, I feel the same way about Jokic as I felt about Tim Duncan. I want to hate the guy so much, but he is the best at doing what he does, and there's a reason why he's won 3 MVPs. And after watching this series, this is the first time that we've got to see him over and over and over again. It's not just one-offs, not even like the 2-game turnaround situation we had earlier in the season, but I respect the hell out of him, and the Thunder are doing what you're supposed to do. Make everything just a little bit harder for him, because when everything is so hard for him to do, then he has to think. He has to look at all options. He can't just be instinctive, and that's why you're seeing, I think, his 3-point shooting has just kind of gone to crap, because he literally has people hitting, touching, bumping into him all the time.
Yep.
Now that being said, he also is shooting freaking 12, 15 free throws a game, and It just blows my mind that this guy ends up at the line so much. But anybody talking about the Thunder need fouls to win, I mean, we're still nowhere near what the Nuggets are getting.
At all. Like, we are, in comparison, we're pretty darn low in comparison when it comes to what they're doing.
But
at the same time, we're a team that fouls a lot. We are a team that fouls. We all know this.
We are aggressive. Yeah.
We are an extremely aggressive squad. That's how we play. And we will continue to play that way because that's kind of the style of basketball we want to be known for. Aggressive.
It is the basketball defensive version of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It is we want to make everything much more difficult than it is on the normal basis for you on offense. And you can run Caruso and Wallace and Lou Dort over and over and over again. Every once in a while, Jay, I'll see Shea switch on to somebody. I'm like, oh wait, Shea's really good at freaking defense too. You do not have a weakness on defense on the Thunder team. There's nobody that you can be like, go after him.
That is something that I am very happy that Mark is the head coach for, because that's kind of his thing. He makes sure that we can he doesn't make them change the way they play. He just tries to make them be smart about it. Which, still, my favorite thing that he does is he tells them, don't argue with the refs, let me handle it.
Yeah.
And the players respect it. That's some power, man, because these are grown men that like to complain. And he gets them to shut up.
Well, because when Shea or Jay or J-Dub or Chet, when these guys are making their offensive moves, they have, okay, if this happens, this happens. If that happens, that happens. And if they're going into contact, they've been officiated a certain way all year long. And it's hard to go, well, listen, if I do this, if he gets a good body on me, they're going to get a foul. You see Jokic do the same thing. And it's the playoff refs they've let them play at times. They've been inconsistent from the fact of sometimes they'll let them play and sometimes they call the ticky-tackiest fouls I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And but you got guys who know how to draw contact on both sides of the floor, and they're both, all of them are good at it. Jokic might be the best one. Harden used to have that mantle, but I think Jokic, if you get your hand in the cookie jar, you're done. He will capitalize.
And he's learned how to he sees the foul that's called against him, and then he'll go repeat it against the competition and be like, I dare you to call it. Not call it. And then he jumps all up, I dare you not call it. They call it.
Well, and I think that him bitching to the refs is probably the only part of his game that I wish he did it less. But he also, that's it, is I guess when you grow up as a, not really physically imposing person, you want to find every single nook and cranny that you can take to your advantage. And he's got the best feet in the NBA for a big man. He's got the body type to be an outside range guy like a Vlade Divac type of a situation, but then also be able to go down and bang around. You look at, what's his name up there in Sacramento? He was on the Thunder with Trey, son of a former NBA player. Sabonis, Domantas Sabonis, and Arvydas Sabonis. Domantas is not a guy who can really get down and go take guys out on the block who are bigger guys like a Rudy Gobert or a Nikola Jokic. Like, he is a guy who doesn't have that body type, so he can't. Now, he gets in there and mixes it up, and he can rebound, but Nikola Jokic, he's just big enough that he can move you around. It doesn't matter if it's J. Will, it doesn't matter if it's Hartenstein, as the ABC announcers always like to say. But whoever it is, Chet, he is going to body you up and he's going to move your butt. You've seen him do it to Lou Dort. You've seen him doing it to Shea. You've seen him do it to Hartenstein, everybody, because he's got the size to him also. Yeah,
no, that's true. You're not wrong there.
Our chat went silent.
It did. Everybody left because it was all basketball talk at this point. I think we got it. I'm still Thunder in 6. We are literally right there at the finish line. So
I said 7 at the beginning of the series. I thought that the Thunder were going to have a middle gap I thought it was going to be a situation where we might get up 2-0 and then maybe lose 2 in a row and then get into a back and forth fight. But I will say this, Jay. I have more anxiety watching the Thunder right now than I had watching OU during the season this year. I don't know
Really?
why. Maybe it's just because I know what is on the line, and this year, for the football team, I didn't think that was an option.
Fair.
But I was okay to lose a couple games. But like with the Thunder, man, I just the anxiety has been ridiculous.
Has it been crippling?
No, not crippling.
That's so funny.
I will. What was it happen? Something happened during Game 3, and I missed the end of it. Oh, I was putting little man to bed, and he just took forever. And I had it paused downstairs, and I looked at my phone to see what time it was, and I saw the score, and I was like, "Gummit!" But went back and watched it, even though, I was still frustrated.
Yeah, they're giving us all anxiety, so I totally understand
Yep.
that. I would have it too if I was. Yeah. I just need them to go ahead and get these W's.
Well, because I think the thing is once you get past Denver, I feel like that's the toughest matchup, and I think it's because of Jokic. Jokic, the Jokic factor is he is always going to be the same. He will never not be who he is. And if Jamal Murray had more consistency, and I hope it happens next year when we don't play him, but he's the key to everything, because if he is on, that team is damn near unstoppable. And
Fair.
if he's on like Super Saiyan mode, that team could be any team in NBA history. But yeah, it's stressful, and I think that it'll get easier from here on out. I'd like to see I'd like to see the Timberwolves next. I think that's going to be another good series.
Oh, so much fun. And I love playoff basketball just because I know it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's always a good time. And so, all right, well, let's wrap it up, put a bow on it. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. We will be back next week, of course. See if I can get a special guest to join. We'll talk about, what the heck what everybody's doing in the off season. We'll start doing positionary breakdowns. We got so many things to talk about. So share with a friend. Why? Because sharing is caring. And yeah, we will chop it up with each and every one of y'all. About a week. Peace.